He'd won the international pairs with Danny van Tripe, and they were raising the trophy together. And it just so happened that it was Jimmy that executed him. It seemed like Graham struggled with the noise in this place. Wasn't able to make the final for a second time, and a lot of people think it might have been because of the amount of support that Jimmy had. His darts career has been a bit up and down, but moments like this, they really are worth it, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's great to see again. Jeff Smith is just one of those really good guys in darts.
Hi darts fans, we are here at the MODUS Super Series at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth, and we are going to have a recap of Series 11. It was history making because we did have our first Canadian winner, and there were so many highlights. We've actually decided to have Laura Turner with us to devote a good 20 minutes to recapping what was arguably the best series we've had so far. As far as you're concerned, Laura, is that the case? Was it the best series we've had so far?
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? I am a real believer in recency bias. However, you say that and you just look back at that week and you have to say you can make a really strong argument for it being one of the best that we've ever had.
One of the reasons why we think it might have been the best is because of the standard of play. We've seen some of the players who played out of their skin and not qualify for even the Saturday night. But we've seen someone miss a dart for the championship and ultimately somebody else wins it. Was that the biggest thing that we took from it?
Yeah, there's that, isn't it? But it was the drama as well, like you say. And you wonder if there's going to be any more firsts. Is there anything else in this building that can be a first? And yet there happened to be that as well this time round. And you have to say you got to be desperately unlucky for the runner-up. Jimmy van Schie had the dart. Okay, it was just the one dart, but was punished by Jeff Smith in the end. Well,
let's start from the beginning. We had some great experience coming into Group A. And it was one of those groups that was so tight that even Jimmy van Schie didn't qualify for Saturday night immediately because he was only a couple of points behind the person who won it. Now, Graham Usher did win the group. He won it with the equal amount of lowest points over the course of the 3 days and the lowest leg difference we've ever seen in a Group A in a Champions Week. So was it a case of him just getting over the line and scraping his way into Saturday night?
Yeah, I think whoever topped that group would have just breathed a sigh of relief. Like you say, I mean, Jimmy van Schie, you mentioned 16 points, actually finished fourth. Not only didn't make it through via Group A, didn't even make it into Group B, which makes it all the more challenging for him. So yeah, it was just so packed, wasn't it? It was a really tight group, and it's what you come to expect because, as you mentioned, the calibre of player, they've all won a week. You know, they should be the standout players for the series. They proved to be the standout players, and they proved to make it really difficult for each other.
He won 5 games on Monday with a total of 10 points. He would win 8 points over the next 2 days. How does Graham look back on that? Does he look at the Monday as a great day and the rest of it was just scraping away? Because it was one of the weirdest Group A wins that we've ever seen, never mind a Champions Week.
Yeah, I guess so, because you've set yourself up nicely, haven't you? You've won all 5 games, and perhaps Graham may have felt with a group that he found himself in to get 5 wins possibly wasn't going to be the easiest thing to replicate again and again. As you say, he held on at the top of the table, but yeah, just the 8 points over the rest of it is unusual, but it was enough for him for that week.
Vincent van der Voort was in the building with myself and Henry Deacon and some other people, and we were trying to figure out who the favourite was on the Monday morning. And Vincent and I stood on the stage behind us and we said, we think it's Shane McGurk, even though the odds compilers thought it was Derek Coulson. Shane didn't play very well on the Monday at all. He got better as the week went on, but even he didn't make the Saturday night. It was mystifying, wasn't it?
Yeah, you got the likes of Shane. You have obviously got John O'Shea as well, who went on to then pick up a title at the international pairs just a couple of weeks after. So yeah, when you look at the people that haven't got through, I think that's normally quite indicative of just how difficult a group was.
Well, that performance there, you saw 111.33, and his reaction told you everything. Yes, I can do that, but I was not able to get through to the Saturday night. He was almost peed off at the fact that he was able to play so well and not get there. This is what he did. Group A1 on day 1, 76 average. By the time he'd finished in Group C, it was 92. So he peaked at the right time, but it just wasn't quite good enough.
It wasn't, no. And again, it's really hard to get out of Group C. It's something we say all the time. You've only got 2 players out of 6 that gets through, and yet you look at those figures and you think, absolutely, but it's Champions Week, and that's what you have to remember, the calibre. But he just left himself too much to do.
Jimmy Van Ski came into the week as one of the favourites as well, for obvious reasons. And a lot of people thought that if he were to make Saturday night, it would be his time because he'd have his army behind him. He was fourth in Group A, but even after that disappointment, he was able to bounce back and win Group C. So it doesn't matter whether it's B, C, or A. He's someone who knows how to get through a certain group, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he absolutely loves it here, doesn't he? He's really started to make Portsmouth and the MODUS Live Lounge here like his home. He does really good things in this building. And again, like you say, would have been disappointed, not necessarily to have topped the group. We know he can go through via Group A, but the fact that he found himself in Group C, and he can draw a line under it and then reset and then treat the next group as a completely different, it's almost like a different tournament. You have to forget about everything else, push forward. That's what he seems to be able to do so well. Just
a matter of weeks before this, he'd won the international pairs with Danny van Tripe and they were raising the trophy together. Fast forward to Champions Week on the Friday and two things happened. Jimmy Van Ski won a match and Danny van Tripe was out, and it just so happened that it was Jimmy that executed him in the table with the kind of shot that we've come to expect from Jimmy in this building.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pressure on it, isn't there? When your opponent sat on 31, and total respect between them. But for me, Jimmy Van Ski, that's what he has in his arsenal. That is what he's got. That is what he can draw upon. And when you have the opportunities against him, you have to take them.
As for Andy Hamilton, he'd never made a Champions Night until Series 11. He came second in Group C. How much confidence has he taken from this building in 2025? Because he's made consecutive Champions Weeks and he was a little bit better in Series 11 than Series 10.
I think for Andy Hamilton, he's always praised the facilities we have here, the opportunity that we have for players, and you can see the levels that he was playing at as well. He is one of those players that I think he's had so much success, hasn't he, in his career, and obviously has dropped off that Pro Tour, and this has presented a new opportunity, and he's just getting better and better each time he comes here. Hopefully that is the confidence that we can see going forward again and again.
I think there's something we can learn from Andy, and maybe from Raymond van Barneveld as well. If you look at them in their perceived peak, so Andy Hamilton around, say, 2008 to 2012, you look at how he looked physically, and how he was maybe struggling with certain things like diabetes. Raymond's had the same struggle. But if you look at them now, they actually look slimmer and fitter now than they did back then. So I commend Andy Hamilton. He gets this whole thing about his work ethic. It's going to follow him the rest of his career. But the thing is, he's been able to get healthier as he's got older, which means his career gets longer.
And I think there's a lot of, you can draw a lot of parallels. You look at, the top echelons of the game now, and you look at the likes of a Luke Humphreys, who's done something very similar. Then you've obviously got a Nathan Aspinall or Joe Cullen. And I think players are now starting to realise the importance of that. But as you say, the fact that Andy Hamilton has done it, perhaps towards the tail end of his career when he wasn't his absolute best, but the fact that he's done it now, I think we've got many more years of seeing Andy Hamilton here on the stage.
I hope so. Scott Taylor came into the week as the only series champion, looking to do what only Luke Littler's done before. He had some highlights and he had some infuriating games like this one with Jimmy Van Ski. And at one point, I think our colleague Chris Murphy said, well, this is ridiculous. It was a little bit, wasn't it? Because he's got more 170s than anybody in this room. He's got a series title, multiple weekly titles, but it just wasn't meant to be in Series 11.
And it goes that way. Again, you have to refer back to the rest of the room and how many players were here that could match the performance. But for me, for Scott Taylor, perhaps didn't maintain those high levels yet. When the high levels are there, they're very high. We know that from Scott Taylor. But what was probably missing was mainly that consistency at a high enough level. And I think the rest of the field, the ones that didn't make it through, you could probably make a very similar argument. It's not about these one-off really big averages. It's about maintaining something at the level that is just enough to beat everyone else.
Well, we've talked about Champions Week in all of the somewhat pre-Champions Night entirety. When we come back, we're going to talk about the actual Champions Night where the champion was crowned. Yeah, very warm welcome back, darts fans, because we're still here talking about Series 11. Not entirely about the whole thing, because that would keep us here for quite some time, but we're going to talk about the Champions Week. And in particular, Laura, now we're going to talk about Group B, because we had Derek Coulson in Group B. He had a pretty good first 3 days of the week, statistically, but didn't win the group. Found himself in Group B. Played some good stuff, didn't he?
Yeah, he looked the most likely. And I think he went into it. He was made favourite by the bookies going into Group A, exactly the same going into Group B. And it just ended up being the finest of margins in the end. Went down to just a couple of legs difference between him. For me, it shows the levels that he's got. Obviously, you know, he was the most consistent, biggest averages, absolutely. But they don't write averages on trophies and didn't get through.
No, they don't. And here's the proof, because as you can see, with a 93 running average throughout the group, Derek Coulson did not qualify. It was Gavlas, Van der Velde and Jeff Smith who would get through. So a bit of an infuriating week. And Derek Coulson has started something with Scott Taylor called the 170 curse. So if you hit a 170, you're not going to make Saturday. I hope that doesn't become a thing. But I suppose we have to talk about the people who did qualify, and one of those was Jurgen van der Velde, who did exactly what he did in his winning week in Week 11. He was second in Group A, he was second in Group B, and would ultimately make the Champions Night for the first time.
Yeah, and he's such another exciting and a young talent coming through. I was really impressed. These younger players coming through, to me, they've just got this level of competency, but the way they hold their nerve is almost beyond their years. But for me, he's almost becoming that complete package. Seen him here a few times, and yeah, I've been really impressed.
I think the biggest thing for Jurgen, from a lot of perspectives, especially from Vincent van der Voort as well, we referenced his failure to get over the line at the World Youth Championship with Jan van Veen at the end of 2024. What we've seen in his recovery in the last 6 to 7 months is his ability to refocus, rebuild, and become a more confident player. What do you think about that?
I agree, because visually he was really upset, wasn't he, when he didn't actually get past Van Veen in that final, as you mentioned. And it can that can be all damaging. That can really affect the career of someone, but it shows the mental strength as well that he's got, the ability and the belief in his game, and he's backing it up now back here on the Oki. And this is what the MODUS Super Series can do for players. People can come here, kind of refocus, get that drive back as well. Sometimes when you've had a disappointment, you kind of fall out of love with the game for a little while, but it's looking really good for Van der Velde.
Same could have been said for Jeff Smith at times. In a week that was categorised by people who had been a runner-up in something big, Jeff Smith is no different. Runner-up at Lakeside just about 10 years ago. He was the last person to start his campaign in the week. And as far as Group B was concerned, he was rather useful. Came here with a purpose, won week 1, had to wait 3 months to come back, but looked very useful. And
I think that suits Jeff. I think Jeff was just able to kind of go along, play his darts at his own pace, and again, another very big proven player, but someone that we perhaps hadn't seen so much. Like you said, he had that big break after winning that first week, but we haven't kind of seen him around on the tour as much. So the fact that he's come here, backed it up, won Champions Week, and has his place on the wall, then yeah, I think it was a brilliant campaign all round for Jeff Smith.
Yeah, we'll get back to the wall in due course. Adam Gavlas made it through to the Champions Night and into the Champions Week, the first Czech player to do so. Alexander Mašek had been close in the past, but how big was it for a Czech player to make Champions Week and indeed Champions Night?
Yeah, I talk about it quite a lot, but what we're seeing now at the Super Series is just more and more players from more and more nationalities, but they're going deeper into the tournament. So I think it's really important. I think it's just, again, another way of inspiring people that perhaps haven't made it, from a nation that hasn't made it through to, you know, a normal week final. Then we've now got a Champions Week final, and Adam Gavlas is that type of player, and the experience that he's got and the confidence that he's got that could actually pick up a series title here.
We're going to have a look at all of the stats from the week, and they make for very interesting reading if you're a bit of a numbers person, because you look at Graham Usher, I don't know whether you believe in luck or not, but 88.88 made it through Group A. The one that really stands out, though, when you look at the red names and numbers, they are the people that did not qualify. You look at Shane McGurk's personal best for the week, that 112.05, one of the best performances ever in a Champions Week. but the 93.19 from Coulson, he had the best running average in Group A. He didn't win the group. He had the best running average in Group B. He did not qualify. Is that frustrating, or is it just part and parcel of the game?
It's a bit of both. So I imagine for Derek it was very frustrating, and to everyone that was obviously supporting him. But you can see the numbers he's posting. We know how good he is. He came in as favourite. So I think the combination of factors, that would have annoyed Derek, because he's obviously played well, but it's timing in darts, and we all know that. And it is those fine margins, especially in a field that he found himself in, and was just unlucky. It was 2 legs in the end. It really wasn't. It wasn't like he was playing like that and lost by a big amount, which again probably just made it all the more infuriating.
One of the things that young darts players and darts fans should learn as well is that Shane McGurk had 4 ton-plus averages and didn't get through, so it's not always about the averages. When it comes to Champions Night, we did promise that we were going to talk about it because that was the best part about it. The first person to be eliminated was Andy Hamilton. I'm sure he came in to that night in Portsmouth thinking this could be the biggest victory of my career, but it was Jurjen van der Velde that would take him out.
Yeah, and again, it would be disappointment. And sometimes you do find that you go into that finals night, it's very much more cutthroat. It feels like knockout darts. Yes, we have that small round robin section at the start, but if you get caught on the back foot and you get caught out early, then the outcome is you're normally out the door first. Speaking
of out the door, Gavlas would be out the door as well. So ultimately the pace would be picking up in the semi-finals. Jimmy Van Schie would take him up by 4 legs to 1, as you can see there. Was it a bit of a relief to get rid of Gavlas? Not just because he's a slow player, the fact that he's really dangerous when you get to the knockout portion of things.
Absolutely. He's got that experience. He's obviously played on the Pro Tour. He's played on the biggest stages in the world, and he's backed it up here. And we've seen how well he can play here. And when he's under pressure, he can pull something out of absolutely nowhere. So, like you say, I think it's a combination for the rest of the field. 1, because he's dangerous, but 2, we did have a lot of faster players, and he is more methodical, Adam Gavlas, which makes it more difficult to play against.
In the semi-finals, it will be Canada versus the Netherlands, and whether they've got a rivalry in this sport is very much up to those nations, but it would be seasoned player versus youthful player. But here was Smith doing very Smith things. This is where he gets his nickname from, isn't it? Shots like that. Yeah, and absolutely, he just doesn't let anyone in. Even if Jeff had missed that particular portion of the match, then Van der Velde was still at least 6 darts away from crossing the line. And it's the efficiency, isn't it? It's the capability, the efficiency, and he's quite cold and businesslike about it when he's up on the oche. And he's a really nice, warm guy, but when it comes to the darts and he's at that oche, it's just so professional, very focused, and it deserved his place in the final. It was quite silent in the room when Jurjen was playing against Jeff, but things would ramp up a bit in the next one with Jimmy Van Schie at the oche, and they were just expecting Jimmy to make the final, weren't they?
Yeah, they named them a Jimmy Van Schie army here, haven't we? He's just got such a big following, and yeah, he knew that it was going to be difficult. He had Graham Usher in that second semi-final, but Jimmy backs it up. Yeah, he's got the support. He does like having the support, obviously, but he backs it up on that oche. And again, it was another performance, a bit like Jeff Smith, where he just didn't allow his opponent any opportunity to win the match. There was no match winning opportunities for either of those players, and he just shut them down.
Did we find a bit of education for future players playing against Jimmy here? Because it seemed like Graham struggled with the noise in this place. I know he's got a lot of experience, but he wasn't able to make the final for a second time. And a lot of people think it might have been because of the amount of support that Jimmy had. You just got to put up with it, haven't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an intimate arena here. We know that. But Graham Usher basically has got a lot of experience. He should know, there are going to be people that cheer for you. There's going to be people that cheer against you. But with Jimmy Van Schie, I think everyone, we speak about it all the time. Everyone knows that he does come with this little cult following here in Portsmouth as well. So, yeah, I'm surprised. You should have been more prepared for it. Yes, it can be frustrating, but I also think there's probably something in the back of certain players' minds where they get to the same position. They're one step away from the final. It's the biggest prize that we've got on offer here. And perhaps, that side of that kind of psychological side of things, that starts playing tricks on you as well. So maybe a bit of internal with external frustration.
I'd like to get your thoughts on how Jeff handled the Jimmy Van Schie army, because they were at boiling point in the middle portion of the final. We knew it was going to go the distance, and we don't have a great deal of finals that do. It seems like it happens a lot recently. But how well did Jeff keep himself tempered when it was getting to the actual boiling point of the final?
It goes back to that cool, calm collectedness that we mentioned previously. Absolutely, he didn't get embroiled. He was expecting it, absolutely, and just dealt with it so much better. And again, that's drawing on that experience, playing on those big stages, perhaps being the underdog every so often. But Jeff knows, it's not personal. They just want the other guy to win more than you. But it's not that they don't really want you to win either, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But yeah, Jeff just dealt with it much better.
In the final, we would go the distance. And Jimmy's CV in this building is not just about his following. It's about big finishes at just the right time. And a lot of people thought this was going to go in. I think he thought it was going to go in. It was right on line. And it just so happened to be the first time that someone had missed a championship dart and they would end up losing, because Jeff would replicate what he did in his winning week with the same checkout, the same amount of darts, and it would be his title.
Yeah, it almost felt inevitable, didn't it, with Jimmy? Yeah, absolutely. But again, in that pressurized environment, you're three apiece. The whole, half the room is a kind of against you winning. You're 18 left, 3 darts in hand. So to have the composure to go up there to pin 10 for double 4, yes, that is the shot that he wants, that he has done before. But there are other players that possibly would have just felt very edgy in that situation, would have gone straight for double 9. So I think that just made it, for me, even more impressive that he just remained so cool, calm and collected.
Yeah, I think that's what he was. I think he knew that it was going to have to be a bit of a sprint towards the end of the week. Winning Group B over 2 days and then getting ready for that Saturday night. He did the right things at the right times in very difficult circumstances, winning £25,000, which is a lot more in Canadian dollars, that's for sure. And he has had troubled times. He was in Canada when, unfortunately, things were not going his way. The garage that he was working at was burning to the ground. His darts career has been a bit up and down, but moments like this, they really are worth it, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's great to see again, because as mentioned, Jeff Smith is just one of those really good guys in darts, and I don't think there was anyone that wouldn't have been happy for him seeing him lift that trophy. Perhaps Jimmy Vanschke at the time, but he's then adding his name to the roll of honour, and for me, it's great to see a Canadian actually there, and it just shows once again just the depth that we're getting here at the MODUS Super Series in terms of the international flair and the winners that we've got.
Well, I don't know what you feel about trophies, but I have never touched a trophy that I think I could still possibly win, so I'm obviously never going to win this one. I think Henry Deacon's never going to win it either, because he keeps touching it when we have it in the studio. But there is the name of Jeff Smith, Series 11 winner, and we are eagerly awaiting the opportunity towards the end of the year to get Series 12 on it. We have no idea who's going to be on that, obviously. But here's the Roll of Honour, all the way back in 2022, just a shade over 3 years ago now that we came to this building. But Whitehead was the first winner. We had the 2 Littler wins, which changed this place and changed Littler's career forever. But which one was your favourite out of the lot?
Yeah, they've all got something for me. I mean, I loved Series 7 Andreas Harrison. Andreas Harrison, one of those players that really has made a name for himself in this building as well. And it was a really tightly fought final against Cameron Crabtree. They all have something for me. Jeff Smith, it makes me smile. Well, maybe it's recency bias, but I could rewatch all of them and I'd enjoy them all.
I've got an idea for you, by the way, because Jimmy Vanschke's been in 2 finals now. Tom Sykes has been in 2 finals now. When they play each other, it's fireworks. To end 2025, how do you feel about the possibility of Tom Sykes versus Jimmy Vanschke in a final? Yeah, that would be a nice ending to 2025, right?
That'd be unbelievable, wouldn't it? The 2 players that really have made their names here in this building. So very, very exciting. If that happens, then, maybe there's this kind of psychic pool vibe going on, but it would be great.
One of the first things I asked you at the start of this show, where does Series 11 rank? You gave us a very eloquent answer of it's got to be up there. Well, let's go back to that. We've talked about it now. Where does it rank? Again,
yeah, it is for me, probably in one of the top 2 or 3 that we've ever had here. Like you say, it had a bit of everything. It had the drama right down to the end. It had the involvement of the crowd here on finals night. Big averages, big names not going through as well. And the fact that everything ran quite tight. It wasn't, sometimes not so much in Champions Weeks, but sometimes you do have 1 or 2 players that run away with groups and it kind of makes things feel inevitable. Nothing felt inevitable in this group. You could have made an argument for anyone at the start to pick up that trophy.
Come on, then. I'm going to put you on the spot right now. We're at the start of Series 12, at the end of 2025. I can't believe we're saying that. The year is completely gone. Give us a name that you think will be under Jeff Smith at the end of this year.
Do you know what? The fact that you've mentioned Jimmy and Tom Sykes, but Tom Sykes played England with him, outstanding players, as many are in this building. But I would love for Tom Sykes to perhaps get his name on here. But wonder what you think about it. As you put me on the up against it. Do you have anyone that you think might add their name?
I'm sentimental. You know this about me, Laura. I'm going to have to go with Steve West. I think he's done a lot of great things. He's made this place his home. I don't think we saw the end of the story when he won Week 11 in a previous series. I think there's unfinished business. I think if he were to win this, he might be crying for a week. And he doesn't mind me saying that whatsoever. I just think that will be the crowning glory of his career with still more time to come. What do you think of that?
Yeah, and I don't think there will be anyone who would begrudge him a title here. He's one of those players that he's done amazing things in this building. So I'd love to see a lot of players do it, but that's another one that would be brilliant.
Well, we're going to have to wait because we've got quite a few weeks to find out who's going to be in the Champions Night, of course, which is at the end of November. So enjoy the ride, everybody. I know we're going to. The fact is, Series 11 was one of the best. The Champions Night in Series 11 was possibly the very best we've had, but there's still more to come on Pluto TV here at the MODUS Super Series.